En los últimos 6 meses nos han matado a 5 compañeros, el último es el que estamos enterrando el día de hoy, asesinado pues por los paramilitares.
This is Mesitas del Colegio, 2 hours from Bogota, the capital of Colombia. We are attending the funeral of Gustavo Soler, president of the Miners Union at the American multinational coal mining company, Drummond Incorporated. Gustavo was outspoken about poor working conditions in the mine. A group of right-wing paramilitaries executed him with a bullet in the head. His fellow activists traveled 2 days to pay their respects. Gilberto is among the mourners. He represents the union at activists' funerals.
En Colombia en estos momentos, en lo que va corrido del año han sido asesinados 112 compañeros. Han sido víctimas de atentados 23 compañeros, han sido secuestrados y desaparecidos muchos compañeros y han sido desplazados más de 1 millar de dirigentes y activistas sindicales de sus lugares de trabajo y de sus lugares de vivienda. Entonces, eso es lo que estamos viviendo con pues, todo el dolor que nos embarga a todos los que vamos en este cortejo.
To understand paramilitary violence, a look back at the history of this Colombian war is necessary. In 1964, the Colombian Armed Revolutionary Forces, known as FARC, the most powerful of communist guerrilla organizations, appeared on the scene. Made up of armed peasants, the guerrillas demanded land redistribution and got nowhere. The land oligarchy wouldn't budge on agrarian reform. Behind the facade of democracy, the Colombian regime is controlled by a ruling class incapable of sharing the nation's riches. Any and all political opposition is systematically repressed.
En esta justa lucha en que nosotros estamos empeñados por el derrocamiento del régimen y por la instauración en Colombia de un gobierno popular de liberación nacional.
Faced with insurgency, the government responds with violence. With U.S. support, a vast offensive to annihilate FARC was undertaken in vain. 40 years later, the guerrillas are still there. Today, FARC is nearly 20,000 guerrillas spread throughout the land. But FARC has changed since its inception. To finance their struggle, rebels kidnap civilians. Money from cocaine trafficking also supports the war effort. Terrorist attacks, murder of civilians. Today, no one can test the rebels' excesses, the crimes of the guerrillas. But in this interminable Colombian war, there is another category of violence, that of the paramilitary right wing. Much less talked about, it is nonetheless at the root of 2/3 of all crimes committed against the population. The massacres, an essential element of the paramilitary strategy. The principal victims of this terror policy are peasants accused of supporting the guerrillas. The Salado massacre, 40 dead, just one of many.
Cuando nosotros vimos fue la gente dentro del pueblo, ya disparando y diciendo que eran los autodefensas y que ya se acababa el pueblo. Entonces yo corrí y me metí debajo de la cama con el sobrino mío.
¿Cuántos hombres eran?
Como 400.
¿Y qué hacían?
Disparando y después llegaron tumbando las puertas y sacando a la gente para la cancha, que hacer una reunión. Y ahí entonces los iban cogiendo y los iban matando. Que los ahorcaban, les daban palos y después los degollaban.
3,000 massacres were committed in Colombia over the last 10 years. They have caused a massive displacement of communities. More than 2 million Colombians have been driven off their land, crowding into the outskirts of major cities. The creator of the paramilitary movement is Carlos Castaño. He's the one ordering the assassinations and massacres. Involved in drug trafficking, for a long time, Carlos Castaño worked with cocaine kingpin Pablo Escobar, boss of the Medellin cartel back in the 80s. Pursuant to convictions in Colombian courts, Castaño has officially been a fugitive of the police and the army for years. They haven't caught him. Yet Castaño breezily welcomes Colombian television to his hometown, Nudo del Paramillo, well known to all who live in the northern part of the country, for an interview.
En directo, habla Carlos Castaño.
Las autodefensas en Colombia somos un caso excepcional de antisubversión civil en Latinoamérica. Asimismo tendrá que ser el retorno a nuestra normalidad social e igualmente excepcional.